Deep in a remote village, isolated by dense forest and relentless storms, stands a massive, ancient Haveli. At night, its grand architecture feels less like a home and more like a monolith, revealed only in the sudden, sharp flashes of a thunderstorm. This is the domain of Pratap Singh. To the public, he is a man of unshakable tradition and respected authority. But behind these doors, that respect shifts into a rigid, suffocating tyranny that dictates every second of life within these walls. His wife, Yamini, and daughter, Priya, exist in a state of constant, quiet calculation. Their movements are stiff, their voices lowered, their lives defined by the emotional isolation of those who have learned that visibility only brings control. In this household, fear is the primary foundation. It creates a psychological confinement that is reinforced by every rule, every silence, and every tradition the patriarch enforces. This fragile order is challenged when 4 young women, Arohi, Nidhi, Avni, and Roshni, cross the threshold after their arranged marriages. As they step into the hall, the air inside the Haveli seems to turn cold, welcoming them with a heavy, disturbing silence. They are immediately met with a system of absolute oversight. Their phones are collected and locked away, their physical movement is confined to specific wings, and even their choice of clothing is dictated by the house's unwritten laws. They quickly notice the rest of the family acting as silent guardians of the Haveli's secrets. Doors are locked the moment someone approaches, and conversations vanish as soon as a new bride enters the room. The arrival of 4 observant, intelligent women creates an immediate friction. Their curiosity marks the beginning of a quiet conflict against the established order of the household. Amidst the countless restrictions, one room on the upper floor is strictly forbidden. It remains locked at all hours, an anomaly that no one is allowed to mention or approach. At night, the room wakes up. From behind the heavy wood come sounds of paper rustling, pacing footsteps, and muffled crying into the silence. The brides begin to notice small fractures in the house's routine. Keys are moved from their usual hooks, and bundles of old documents appear in drawers that were empty just hours before. Without ever speaking the patriarch's name, they begin to sync their observations. Through shared glances and silent teamwork, they map the house's hidden patterns, moving through the shadows as a single, coordinated unit. This quiet investigation shifts the power within the house. They are no longer just subjects of the Haveli's rules. They are active observers, dismantling the mystery piece by piece. During a violent thunderstorm, they take their chance. Using the noise of the rain and wind to cover their movements, the 4 women finally force open the heavy wooden door. Inside, they find a room preserved in bitterness. The table is covered in weathered diaries, faded photographs, and stacks of emotional letters that have clearly been read and reread for decades. The writing reveals a man who was once defined by a profound betrayal. His first wife's departure left a record of heartbreak that eventually curdled into a deep, defensive anger. The diary charts the timeline of this shift, showing how betrayal led him to build a defensive wall. The logic becomes clear. By strictly controlling the women now, he tries to prevent the specific abandonment he faced in his past. Pratap is revealed not as a man of tradition, but as a man acting out of an unhealed wound. His actions are not driven by strength, but by a desperate, failed attempt to protect himself from his own history. The next morning, the brides bring the truth into the open. In the main hall, in front of the entire family, they confront Pratap, offering him the very diary that documents his own pain. They don't approach him with aggression, but with a firm, quiet wisdom. By speaking the truth of his trauma aloud, they take away the mystery that gave his rules their power. The realization ripples through the room. Yamini finally breaks her silence to address her own years of struggle, and the sons are forced to acknowledge the weight of the system they helped maintain. Facing their collective empathy, the rigid control of the household loses its purpose. The truth, once spoken, leaves no room for the old patterns of fear to continue. For the first time, Pratap allows the barrier to drop. He is forced to finally confront and accept the grief he has been hiding in the locked room for a lifetime. As the sun rises, the physical Haveli changes. The heavy doors are left open, allowing the wind to move freely through the curtains, and a peaceful silence finally replaces the tension that once filled the halls. Breaking the cycle of trauma is a slow, difficult process, but as the fear recedes, the house is finally able to become what it should have been all along, a place where the family can finally begin to heal.